So welcome to AIM Investing. We're so glad to have Lucas Thomas with us, RHM Real Financial Planner. RHM stands for Right Hand Man. We all need one of those in our corner when we're going through life, especially if we've got some really important financial decisions that are to be made. So Lucas, you're hailing from Las Vegas. We're so excited to have you on the show with us. Thank you for being with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're excited to be learning more about your business and how you help people find financial independence and be able to retire early through different revenue streams. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and how you got into this business.
Sure. So pretty much you gotta go through the three pillars of wealth to let me give you an overview of basically how to make money in the world, right? And then we can talk about how I fit within those realms, because my history is pretty much two of those pillars, and then the third one, I leave it to people like give me a second. People like Jeff, right? So let's go over those real quick. So basically, you got your paper assets. That's going to be Jeff. Stocks, bonds, pretty much anything that's contracts between two people. There's no real actual assets behind them. That's paper assets. Then you got real estate and business. Those are the other two pillars of wealth. I specialize in real estate and businesses. I own real estate. I own businesses. I mean, you need a portfolio of all three for diversification purposes. But my background is essentially real estate and business. I bought my first condo for like $40,000, God, 12 years ago. And it's now worth about $250,000 today. And the rent's gone up. I bought it cash. So then, just that one property probably makes me 25, 30 grand a year. Right. So my background is basically, I was in the military, I got out of the military. And then when I was in college, I said, hey, what's the worst thing about working? And I'm like, bosses. If I could never have a boss again, that would be like the best thing ever. Right? So you have the three pillars of wealth. Paper assets was always too boring for me, so I just stayed out of it. So then I got into the other two, right? Because real estate's always fun, it's exciting, it's entertaining because you can always, if you get the nicer pieces of real estate, then you can, make it nice and design things. Like it's a lot more entertaining than paper, right? So that's why I got into paper. So I ended up buying a condo, my first condo for 40, and then I said, oh, cool. But it was kind of in a low income neighborhood, right? So then, most people were like, oh, wow, that must be scary or what have you. And I'm like, no, I grew up in low income areas. This is just a neighborhood in my world. So I started buying those. And then I realized that normal people, or just, well, normal's the wrong word, but just, everyday people would say, why isn't it scary to own those things and being a landlord of that? And I'm like, not really. And then I realized, oh man, there's enough people who they want to own this stuff, but they're afraid of the property management, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting my real estate license, and I built a real estate business for management, right? So I would essentially help buy the place, I would lease the place, I would manage the place, and then eventually I would sell the place. Like that was the whole goal. So basically I turned a real estate asset into I created a one-stop shop for real estate assets, right? Because usually those three things are mixed and matched, right? Usually you don't get the agent who helps you purchase. Usually you don't get the agent who helps you purchase. You don't get the management company included. You also sometimes don't get the person who leases the units. And then you also sometimes even the agent at the end who sells it is completely different. And then after a while, I started getting my mortgage license because I'm like, well, why would we sell the real estate? Because the real estate's the goose that lays the golden eggs. So then I became a mortgage broker and I started on cash out refinances. And then we started buying those. Then we started cash out refinancing and then taking that equity from expensive markets and then turning them into cheaper markets. Like Ohio or Wisconsin or or Florida or Louisiana, pretty much take it from expensive markets, put into inexpensive markets. And that's pretty much been my career for the last 12, 15 years. And I became a financial planner about 5 years ago because, well, people are like, because it was hard to explain to people exactly what I did right? Because it's like, well, I'm a real estate agent who builds real estate portfolios, but I also have a mortgage license. So eventually I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm a financial planner who builds real estate portfolios. And then all the things, and then then it puts everything in a nice umbrella. So, but yeah, it's pretty much my history was helping people purchase them, lease them, manage them, and then sell them. But then eventually we did cash outs. But as of right now, I don't do the management anymore because there's a lot of managers out there that are really good. Like the management's like the worst part of real estate. Because like what's like the number one reason people don't get into real estate? Well, it's the headaches, right? Because it's a people business, and all people businesses have headaches, right? And that's why people don't get into real estate. But that was like my specialty was I took over the people business part, so therefore I kept it, leaner and meaner, and the clients are happy. And then the business side of it is I've owned businesses, I've bought in businesses, I've sold businesses, and help people build their business, or as I like to say, I like it to turn it into an absentee owner business, because it's one thing to build a business, which becomes a job, versus building a business that you can own 3 of them, right? It's like the franchise model versus the live-in owner model, right? You built yourself, I built myself a job. The other one is I own 10 of this business and they do really well. And that's basically the 3 pillars. And the reason I explain it this way is because basically the 3 pillars is pretty much how I got here today. So, but that's kind of a little bit about my background and how I got here, and pretty much will help explain what we're going to talk about next, my friends.
Jeff, do you have some questions for Lucas?
I'm curious because our viewers would probably like to hear how you could help them make some money. So what would be your favorite investing method that you advise people to generally do if they come to you for help?
Perfect. So I actually have the models. It's on tiers, right? I have 3 tiers of investing, right? Obviously, tier 1 is the low-hanging fruit, right? So if you're just starting out today, right, and you have very little capital, then tier 1 is for you. Tier 2 is I make pretty decent money. I have a lot of savings in the bank. I own a house or 2. Basically, there's going to be different investments that work for tier 2. And then there's tier 3, which is I have so much money and I'm going to go buy a giant commercial building for, and that's pretty much how it works. The more capital you have, the better the tier you get into, right? So tier 1 is going to be short-term, or not short-term, it's going to be long-term rentals, right? So purchasing a property for 150 to 200,000, putting a tenant in place, putting the proper people in place. So it becomes, well, it's never mailbox money, right? There's always some sort of management. You either have to manage the property manager, you have to manage the taxes. There's always something that has to be done extra by you, but it's still not, it's like, we're talking maybe 5 hours of work a month, right? So number 1 is going to be purchase long-term rentals. For people who don't have the capital for that, you could also do a house hack, right? So you can use an FHA, a conventional, a VA loan, and you could purchase a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex in your local area. And that's great because now your neighbors are paying your mortgage, right? And that's awesome because now you've eliminated the number 1 thing that's keeping you from, accomplishing your financial goals, which is, rent or mortgage, right? So if you can eliminate rent and mortgage, I mean, that's an extra, let's just say it's $2,000 a month in rent, right? That's an extra $2,000 that now you can use to either put in Jeff's paper assets. You could save it up and put into a long-term rental. It's just extra money that allows you to make your life easier, right? That's why I really like house hacks. So that's pretty much tier 1. Tier 2 is going to be short-term rentals, right? Airbnb, VRBOs. Basically, I always tell people that's tier 2 because you can't purchase those with a primary home loan. You can't purchase, like, usually you have to purchase it with a conventional investment product. The problem is they require 20 to 25% down. But because they're short-term rentals, you can't buy cheaper properties, right? You're gonna have to buy the 5-bedroom house that has a pool, a hot tub. You know, you have to buy a house that's going to make a good short-term rental with all the amenities, right? So that one is just going to require way more capital because you have to purchase it with more money down. The debt service is going to be much larger than a low income or a long-term low income housing. Not only that, but you also have to pay the property management company, and the property management companies on Airbnbs, you know, they can charge anywhere between 20 to 30%. Also, you have to, you know, fill the house with stuff. So, I mean, we're talking an extra, it could easily cost you an extra 20, 30, 40 grand to fill the house with stuff. And then now you're already spent, you know, $500,000 on a house that we don't even know if it works yet. Because, you know, Airbnb is very volatile. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. So that's why I call it the second tier. Because it's just, you know, Airbnbs fundamentally are very, very risky. But if you do them right, or if that's your business, then great. And that's the other thing about Airbnbs that people don't understand is that they are a part-time job. Like, even if it's a property management company, they still are going to inherently just take more time, right? Because what if the cleaner quits, or this happens, or the property management company's doing a bad job, and you know, this and that. So even short-term rentals are always inherently more excessive. And then tier 3 is going to be, I want to buy a commercial building, industrial, warehousing, retail, basically anything in the commercial tier. And the best thing about the commercial tier is because you are dealing with business people and business owners, usually you get a lot less of the headaches, right? So usually commercial is more stable than the other tiers because it just inherently the people just, you know, they pay the bills in general. The only thing that's kind of iffy about commercial is if a tenant leaves, right, how quickly can you fill it with a new tenant? Because, you know, you are dealing with business owners, you are dealing with specific businesses, and sometimes it can remain vacant for extended periods of time. So basically that's how it works. Like, I'm not a super big paper asset guy, Jeff. Is there, like, are there any paper loopholes or in the paper asset world? Or
Well, I found the best paper assets are the most volatile ones. And I teach a contrary way of investing, which always buys low and sells high. And what I use mostly is, I don't know if you're familiar with LEAPs, long-term options. For example, I would tell people, don't buy Apple stock, buy Apple LEAPs, because the LEAP is 5 times as volatile as the stock, and it costs about 1/4 the price of the stock. So if the stock is 200, you could buy a good LEAP at the money for about $50. And they have gone crazy lately. I made a guy over $1 million since April. One guy, and he started with about 700,000. Now he's up to 2.4 million. That's my little niche, you know, but whatever. But I agree with you with the real estate is a very good one. And if you were advising somebody here, it said, what businesses do you think you would encourage somebody to buy that would make them the most money long term?
the business question. That's always the hardest one, because I actually have a few clients right now, and it starts out like this. Let me just walk you through the business purchasing process, okay? So it starts out like this. They go, hey, Luke, I'll buy anything. I don't care as long as it makes money. And I go, great. Well, what about mobile home parks? And they go, well, that sounds awful. I don't want to own that. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. So great. All right. We've eliminated that part of the industry. Fantastic. Do you want to own a tanning salon that does Botox injections? And they go, dude, that's gross. Like, I don't want to deal with high-end people and inject them in the face. That sounds expensive. I'm like, it is. Got it. You don't want to do sun tanning, Botox injections. Fantastic. Moving on. What else do you got? And they like, so it comes down to this thing where I have to eliminate all the things, because I'm not saying you have to be passionate about your business. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you got to wake up every morning and be like, I want to, own this mobile home park, and I'm a mobile home park guy. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying is you have to have some sort of interest in what the business is, right? Because if you can't physically read about the market that your business is in, like if you don't want to read like the marketing things about your business, if you don't want like to go to these business, like, I mean, because at the end of the day, you're probably gonna have to go to conferences to make your business better. Like you have to have at least some resemblance of interest in the business, right? Because you can't just buy a business and expect it to work, right? It's just not how it works. Like you are fundamentally the business owner. Even if you have a general manager, you are the business owner. It's your job to make your business better, right? Your general manager is just that. He's a manager, right? He manages the business that's currently there. But if you think the general manager is going to be like, well, we need to do all these extra things to make you more money. No, he's going to execute the plan in front of him, and that's it, right? So I always tell people you need at least bare bones, need some sort of interest in the business itself.
Right.
And that point, once you figure out the interest, then the money comes second. So interest first, money second. Because at that point, you're like, well, I want the thing that makes the most money. And you go, well, you don't really want to get into that. And you don't have any interest in getting into that. Plus, it's very expensive to get into that because the things that make the most money are the most stable cost the most money. So that's always an issue. Like for me personally, I love storage units. Storage units are the best. They're like a license to print money, right? The problem is the storage units are ungodly expensive because they're licensed to print money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
I'm just being curious, do you tend to lean towards people buying a franchise or starting their own independent business?
it goes back to my interests and personality. So if you have the personality to be a bootstrap owner, then fantastic, be a bootstrap owner. But if that is not who you are as a person, then go into franchises, right? So this goes back to my general manager versus owner, right? We just talked about a general manager. If you're a general manager type and you just want to execute the policy that is given to you, and that is your mentality, then you should be a franchise owner, right? Because you don't have to make decisions. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to do anything. Your only job is to make what you have the best, right?
Right.
So if you own, let's just say, own 10 subways, right? And you love subways and you're a general manager type and you just want to execute what's given to you, fantastic. If you're a general manager type, get into franchises because all the steps have been laid out for you. You don't really have to think too hard. Like it eliminates a lot of the, the general entrepreneur trying to innovation because not everyone's an innovator, right? And it's not fun being the bootstraps. I don't own any franchises, but I've helped people purchase franchises, but I'm very much a build up from the ground up guy, right? So I can tell you it's not for the faint of heart, right? Building a business from scratch is not for the faint of heart. It's ugly. Half the time you're trying to figure out what this is, what's that, and you're like, oh God, how am I going to make that payment? And then you close the deal and you're like, oh man, I just got under the gun on that one. You know what I mean? So it really depends. Plus, if you have the money, why would you even start in that one, right? Like it's like starting your own business is more for people who have there's not a franchise for what you want to do, right? It's either there's not a franchise for what I want to do, or you just don't have the capital to get into a franchise, right? It's kind of a mixed bag. Or if you're like me, I just love learning and I'm very pro learning. So for me, I love business and I love bootstrap businesses because just figuring out new stuff every day is just exciting for me, right? So I would say it really depends on your personality. And if anything I said about being a small business owner and building it from scratch, you go, oh God, no. Well, then fantastic. Franchises are for you.
So what would your parting words be to people on why they should call you for help in the financial world?
Fantastic. So basically, there's many people in the financial field. There's financial planners, there's financial advisors, there's life insurance salesmen, there's financial advisors who actually will do assets under management or AUM. Basically, it's all the paper assets, guys, right? You got all your paper assets. But that's the key here. Most advisors and most financial planners, most of all the people I just described do not do business and they do not do real estate, right? So I have the 3 pillars of wealth. Most of the financial experts gravitate towards paper assets. Like that's just what they do. Like they're the easiest to sell. They're the easiest to exchange. Like because real estate is I'm not gonna say it's easy. It always comes with its own inherent problems. Does it perform better than paper assets? It really depends on your business, right? I like real estate because it's hands-on. I own the thing. I get the tax benefits of the thing. I use it to purchase more property. I can do cash out refinances, which is a non-taxable event, so I don't have to pay taxes. Like I love real estate through and through and through. But is it for everyone? No. The other one is going to be businesses. I haven't met a single financial advisor that's like, I'm going to help you build your business, because that's just not normal for the financial world, right? So for me, the reason you call me, like I said, I'm not trying to replace your financial advisor, right? If you have a great stock guy, if you have a great stock person, you have a great life insurance guy, that's not what I do. My specialty is the other 2 pillars of wealth, right? And that usually those guys are like, please take that. I don't want anything to do with a long-term rental. I don't want to teach these people how to be landlords. I don't even own real estate because I don't want to be a landlord. I'm like, fantastic. Give me all your real estate business type people. That's good. And that's usually why I get phone calls, because I think I'm the only person I know, because I'm unique in the business. I don't really know many people who do exactly what I do. Like I know of companies that help you buy turnkey rentals, but that's the thing though. They sell you a turnkey rental with none of the education. And I'm like, well, that's a terrible business model, because you don't know how to be an owner of real estate, right? And that's another reason why I'm kind of iffy about most of the people that are in my sphere, is that they go, because they don't tell you the bad stuff. I love telling people the bad stuff. The bad stuff is the best thing, is the best sales pitch, because I will never tell you that real estate is easy. I'll never tell you that you won't have headaches. I won't tell you, like, everybody just wants to, plug and play. Oh, I make X amount of dollars. And I'm like, I wish that it was like that.
And we can talk about this all day long because there's so much information, but we have run out of time today. And Lucas, thank you so much. Education is key. You touched on a really important topic that people need to learn. It's not just enough to just buy something, but you have to learn the ins and outs of it and know exactly what you're supposed to do and how to navigate through that process so you truly can be successful in that venture. So RHM Real is the place to call. Lucas, we want to visit your website. Is that the best way for people to get in touch with you to book an appointment?
Yeah, my website is fine. Usually emails is the quickest way to get a hold of me.
Lucas at rhmreal.com.
Yes. Email me directly. I'm really open. I pretty much respond to everybody. I'm very quick. Email's like my primary way, just going back and forth. So if you have any questions about what we discussed today, I probably can get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. If you want to have a free 1 hour of financial planning, I'm very generous with my time. As long as if what we're trying to accomplish is going to happen within the next year or 2, then I have no problem with talking to anyone from today's show today. But yeah, Lucas at rhmreal.com is going to be the quickest way to get a hold of me.
Wonderful. We thank you so much for being on the show, for supporting this
Lucas.
platform.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me, Jeff.
All Sport Nutrition of Jacksonville, North Carolina is here to help you take your muscle growth to greater heights. All Sport Nutrition is committed to providing you with the highest quality products. Not only do we carry products from major brands, we formulate our own as well. You won't find a place that cares more about your goals than we do at All Sport Nutrition, located at 431 Western Boulevard, Suite E in Jacksonville. Call 910-968-0586. That's 910-968-0586.
Tired of old school cable internet slowing you down? Let Tech Savvy Sales and Marketing Group help you make the switch. We are a leading provider of internet, home automation, security, and TV services, offering high-speed solutions tailored to your needs. Thanks to partnerships with top providers like AT&T Fiber, Vivint, Kinetic Windstream, Brightspeed Fiber, and DirecTV, we can connect you with amazing deals. For example, switching from Spectrum Cable to AT&T Fiber can boost your upload speeds by up to 25 times, providing plenty of bandwidth for smart home devices, streaming, gaming, and work. No more lag or slowing down. Our highly trained professionals offer free personal consultations, and unlike other providers, we go above and beyond with direct communication and doorstep visits to find the best solution, tailored to your exact needs. Call us today to schedule your free consultation or visit our website for more information on our services.
Richland's Cajun Market is the only grocery store in eastern North Carolina that specializes in authentic Cajun foods like boudin, andouille, gumbo, jambalaya. Whatever Cajun you're craving, you'll find it at Richland's Cajun Market, bringing the best foods from Acadiana to the Carolinas. We may be small, but we're big on taste. Located at 904 Wood Drive in Richlands, North Carolina. Call 910-430-0662 for more information. That's 910-430-0662.